Hi there, my name is Amy Sorensen and I'm 24 years old living in Toronto. I'm a full-time makeup artist at Donato Salon and Spa, as well as I've been working on Toronto-based films for the last year. I've been able to accomplish over 8 films, one of them actually going to the LA Film Festival, as well as Sundance and TIFF coming up this year, which I'm really excited about. I'm applying today for this audition so that I can help you out with a cosmetics campaign, and the way of doing that is I'm going to use my intellect and my personality, as well as my charming good looks, to show everybody how to do makeup properly, as well as how to sell makeup to the right people using the correct products. These days, I've learned that makeup artists as a career is starting to fade because of YouTube and other media. Our unfortunate thing is that anyone can go on YouTube and learn how to do their makeup. Our job now as makeup artists is changing, and we have to slowly learn how to make that work, how to sell certain ideas and concepts, techniques, brushes, and products, as well as a personality, a state of mind, a type of gratification from learning how to do things on your own and not having to hire us, but instead paying into us to do it. I'm going to do this today by using what I learned in university. At first, I graduated with a BA in Media Information and Techniculture from the University of Western Ontario, as well as I was the head of the Ally Western and LGBT community, in which I spoke in front of 40,000 students. I'm completely comfortable doing videos, photo shoots, press releases, talking to people. I've done it my entire life. Being a part of the LGBT community, as well as being a functioning and working adult in the city, I've learned a lot about the type of information people can retain and what they can learn from. So I'm going to today show you a really quick and easy 5-step, simple, how to look perfect makeup application on one of my beautiful friends, Chanel. And I will show you how I can sell a product, but at the same time teach the viewer exactly what to do and feel confident, because I understand that makeup can be very intimidating. So Chanel, come take a seat. I always start by caping my models in my nice Makeup Artist magazine cape that I got from IMATS. I competed at IMATS as well as modeled for the prosthetic competition this year. I've been huge into prosthetics, special effects makeup, but as well I have my own business doing bridal, parties, proms, anything in between. My business card even says from brides to zombies. So I will teach you in 5 simple steps how to accomplish a perfect face properly and easily. So first, I like to always tell my clients that skincare is number 1. We always want to start with a serum, especially in Canadian weather. As we all know, the changing of the season really affects the skin. If you don't have a good moistured base, then your foundation tends to crack. It sits really funny, sits really awkward, and then you have clients telling you that halfway through the night, be it at a wedding or a club, that it's starting to sink off their face. It's either going into their fine lines and wrinkles, or it's starting to look cakey by the end of the night. So it's using the right products and the right techniques, as well as really making sure that the skin is moisturized and healthy underneath. This is something that everybody needs to be doing. A serum helps to actually moisturize from the hyaluronic acid. It's a whole layer of the skin that tends to get forgotten. Moisturizer tends to sit on top of the face, if not only sink to the first layer or two. A serum can sink all the way down, and using it morning and night really helps to treat the skin before you even start thinking about makeup. After using the Dermalogica Ultra Calming Serum Concentrate, which is fantastic, you can buy it in a lot of locations. I'm also going to stick with the Dermalogica Skin Smoothing Cream, and I'm going to add a skin hydrating booster to it. The booster just helps to add a little extra moisture to it, so that way when you go to use your moisturizer, you're getting all the major benefits that you need from it. Dermalogica is a company, they're cosmeceutical, so they don't just do cosmetics, but they make skincare products that work very well with cosmetics, which always helps makeup artists. It's something that I trust to tell my clients about. I'm just going to mix this all up in my hand here, which is my palette, which I obviously always spray down with 99% alcohol. But I'm going to add the skin booster and the moisturizer under the skin, so that way it really is hydrated, so that you don't experience any issues with the makeup later on. Dermalogica is a great company. There are a lot of other really good ones like Luzerne, Yonka. and Darphin even, if you have the money to spend on it. Dermalogica is a medium price, quite affordable to most people. They have everything from what a teenager would need to anti-aging products as well. Continuing on with another Dermalogica product, I'm going to use the Skin Perfect Primer. This has got a titch of a color to it, which is actually self-adjusting. So no matter what skin tone your client has, you're able to use it on them. It also has anti-aging properties, so it does have retinol, collagen, as well as caffeine, and a lot of natural products in there. So it's got some essential oils, which everybody needs. But it's got a silicone base, and a silicone base, unless you have silicone allergies, is fantastic. It helps to minimize the pores and fill them out, as well as it gives you a really nice matte finish. So when you go to put your foundation on, you're not having any dewiness underneath. If you do want a dewy finish, there are primers such as the ones from Makeup Forever that you can get that have a dewy finish to them, as well as you can get primers that have absolutely no color in it. This just kind of helps to even out the skin tone, pale it out a little bit before putting on the foundation. So I just blend that all in there. So once your primer's on, a good foundation is everybody's best friend. I tend to go for Makeup Forever HD foundation. For Chanel today we're using N155, but of course, to match colors, side of the cheek. If it blends with the side of the cheek, unless they have severe skin discoloration issues, they can always talk to their makeup artist about that further on. But it does tend to be a great foundation because it's not too heavy, so it's not going to turn out cakey. I always use a duo fiber brush, the white tip brush as people call it. I find that putting foundation on with this brush allows it to move and sink into the skin instead of sitting on top, so you're not ending up with that cakey finish. I start off on the cheeks. Everybody starts in different places. Down onto the neck, never forgetting the neck and the décolleté, because if you forget that, you're going to end up with that ring that every 16-year-old has that not everybody really likes as you become an adult. I'm really trying to focus makeup here on people over the age of 20. Once you turn 25, your skin starts deteriorating so much quicker at about a 60% rate. You lose your hydration, your elasticity, as well as your pores start to expand, and you can start getting some skin issues. So it's one thing to teach someone when they're 17 or 18 how to do their makeup while their skin is still perfect. It's totally different when you're starting to work with somebody in their 20s because their skin is changing so rapidly. This foundation is very light. You're never going to get that cakey makeup feeling, nor are you going to get that look. I love using it on brides or people going to major events where they're getting their photographs taken, or especially when they're doing film. Working with a lot of famous Canadian celebrities such as Ellen Dublin or John Tench even, this foundation works on both men and women because it is light and it never makes you look like you're wearing foundation, which is the trick of makeup. You want to look perfect without making it look like you tried too hard. My favorite concealer to use is Dermacolor. It's used a lot in special effects and in theater because it is nice and thick. It covers very well. If you put it on with a good flat brush and you really smooth it out at the end with a dry brush, then you'll find that you're not going to have a lot of issues with it wrinkling underneath the eyes. She doesn't have any skin imperfections, but if you do, it covers extremely well. It also covers tattoos, birthmarks, any really heavy discoloration in the skin. When I do foundation, I do it in a triangle right underneath the eye. That was kind of brought out by Kim Kardashian's makeup artist, who kind of showed that by creating a different even plane on the face, you're not going to have the reverse raccoon eyes or the issue of being too light underneath. Concealers can be up to 3 shades lighter just to create that under eye type of highlight. So once that's all on, I tend to take just a dry fluffy brush. This one's from Sephora. And I just really mix it out. Make sure that it's not lines on the eyelids or underneath the eyes. Nothing in the tear ducts or around the nose. You really want it to look as flawless and as blended into your foundation as possible. After that, I like to set it with an HD powder, something that isn't too shiny, but also you don't need something with color. If you choose to do something with color, it's probably because you're using a BB cream or an HD cream, something that's got a bit of color in it already but isn't going to get your coverage. So using a good powder like this helps to set the foundation so that your base looks flawless. It also smells fantastic. I'm going to try not to poke your client in the eye while you're here, but you know what happens. Just let them know that, especially if you're using a hair brush instead of synthetic brush, that is a lot more gentle on the face. Not to worry about it. So step one is an amazing base. Just something flawless, something perfect, so you see that her skin looks great. The next thing after that, again, I'm only doing the 5 steps of what every girl I think should wear if you're kind of going out. The next steps that I get asked about all the time are the stripes, or what we call contour, highlighting, and blush. That thing that makes your face look all perky and taut and really lifted up. I like to use this surface color, which is by Kryolan. It's white face paint. I wouldn't suggest it to everyone, but it is what I tend to use as a highlighter because I just love how milky and creamy it is. Make sure that you're setting your base foundation first with a powder, or else you're going to find a lot of bleeding happens. A lot of shimmer powders or illuminating powders work very well as well. But for this one, I just take a little bit on a flat painter brush, foundation brush, whatever you want to call it. Highlight goes from the top of the ear on the same direction going towards the lip. So you almost just want it on the temple. I'll show you without blending it in first so that you get the basic idea of placement. This is something that I draw out for my clients on a daily on face chart so they can take it home with them and really understand the placement of where these things should go. If you are ever worried about your nose, I would do a stripe down the center of the nose, onto the forehead slightly, and on the nostrils of the nose as well. You can also put a little bit on the chin. Anywhere where the light would hit to make the face look more elongated and thinner tends to be the look that people are going for these days. Again, going back in with your dry brush once you've got the stripe going on, you take your dry brush and just blend that in a little bit just so that you don't look like a zebra, because nobody wants to look like a zebra. You just want to look thin. I don't really know if zebras are thin, but we like to think they are. The next thing I do is I do the contour next instead of the blush. I like to have the outline. It's like coloring in the lines. So I just use a great old palette that I got from Complexions College of Makeup Art and Design. And I just use a darker brown. A bronzer works, a blush in a darker shade as well. And you're going to turn your head here a little bit. Go from the tragus down to the mouth. And this helps to elongate that cheekbone in there. It allows this part in here to look hollowed from afar while also sticking up the whole cheekbone in general, just to lift. And this is something that can be not so drastic, but can be used on anyone over the age of 40 as well that's really losing elasticity in the cheeks and wants to have that look. Now again, if you turn from the side, we've got our contour and our highlight. Now it's just to kind of fill in the middle. This isn't your mother's blush. This isn't 1980. This isn't smile and put it on the apples of your cheeks. In fact, that can make you look rounder and not so attractive these days. So these colors that I'm using are more on the coral palettes. Coral is really in these days. Patone is really making it evident that purple orchids and things like a cayenne red and into the coral pinks are the colors of the spring coming up. Something that you'll see every foundation, every makeup, everything has got an undertone of this really nice warm pink color. So we just do that there. So we've got all your stripes in place. Basic contouring and highlighting. If you wanted to add more depth into the nose, you can also take that original dark color and put it from the inside of the eyebrow down to the end of the nose just to thin it out a little bit. It's not necessarily needed unless you are self-conscious about your nose. And if you are, there are great ways to blend that out so that it doesn't, again, look stripy. My next big move, step number 3, is the eyebrows. My whole thing on telling my clients is, as a teenager, you buy posters, you throw them on your wall. As an adult, if you still have those posters, you're more than likely, if you're still going to keep them, put them in a frame. So as you're getting older and out of your teenage years, it's very important to frame your face just like you would frame your posters. So I like to take just a good brow blender pencil. This is one from John Donato. It is in color Soft Taupe. I like to use something a little bit lighter as opposed to a dark color, something that's like a black or a super dark brown, because sometimes when you go to fill in the eyebrow, even if they have naturally very dark hair, it might look too stark on their face, especially if you're not going to play up the eye a lot. So I always make the same general shape to go with the face. It's really trying to understand where the peak of the eyebrow is supposed to be. I love this 1950s arch that she's got going on right now. Not everyone has that, and that's totally okay. There are good ways to cheat that if you do want to. And that is to kind of have the arch to be in about the center of the iris. So you want it to be about right in the middle, if not on a slight angle, as well as the tail to be coming out on an angle from the outside of your eye. I draw two lines, one on the top and one underneath. I brush out the brow, and then I'll fill that in later with a bit of powder, just so that it doesn't look too harsh or too stark, and you don't look like you've drawn in your brows. You want to draw them in so that they give you that really definite shape without looking like you've tried too hard. So next, I would take an angle brush, and you can even use the same color that you use for contour. Again, it can be an eyeshadow, it can be a face powder, it can really be anything that you want. You can always play around with the color of your brow. Unless you're like me and decide to bleach out your eyebrows in order to ombre them or do some crazy colors with them. It's always good to go a little couple of shades lighter, and then you can always fill them in darker later. I always go with the same stroke with my angle brush here. I go flat. Once I get up to the curve, I go down. That allows it to fill it in without, again, looking too bushy or too thick. So step 3 was your brows. So one step, it was the face. It was a good base. That's really important, whether you're going to the grocery store or you're going out on a hot date. Number 2 is your striping. It's your contour, your blush, and your highlight, as well as on the nose, forehead, and chin. Then after that, it's your eyebrows. Eyebrows are super important. Again, all about framing the face. The next big step, which I know is probably the scariest for most women, is fake eyelashes. And in order to put fake eyelashes on, you do need a little bit of practice. It's not something that can be just thrown right on right away. If I can find them. Oh, there we go. Thank you. My model is so helpful. So I tend to use a dark tone duo or lash grip. This is duo glue. I'm just using demis. They're just demi wispies, really small, just for the corners. These are super easy if you're starting out as a newbie to eyelashes. There are many different ways to do it, and this is where YouTube tutorials and makeup companies really need to be focusing on showing women how simple and easy this can be. This can save you from having to do eyeliner, having to do mascara. You throw a set of these on and you are perfectly good. Some people put them on with tweezers. I have long nails, so it makes it a little bit easier. I understand that doing this on yourself is very hard, which is why makeup artists have a job. But it's also our job to help you feel comfortable putting them on yourself. So I'm going to show you quickly. I just get the model to close their eyes. I lift up at the brow. I tend to do this when I'm doing eyeshadow anyway. Gives a good taut surface in order to do it. So I stick it on the outsides here. Now the dark glue, I wouldn't suggest for somebody that's new to this. The dark glue, if you're going to make a little bit of a mess on your face, will dry dark and you might kind of have some spots everywhere. I like it because I get to skip the whole stage of eyeliner when I'm doing this. But if you're new to it, I would just go with the clear duo as well. That works really well. If you do have a latex allergy, this is latex based. So I would stick with a silicone base, or there are other ones that are made by Quo. They are a little bit more difficult as they do dry hard instead of these ones dry soft. So they're a lot easier to pull off. Now you won't damage your eyelashes with this or anything, but I promise you when you learn how to do this properly, you will never go back. Once the eyelashes are on, they take about a minute or so to dry. Oh, and it's always good to make sure that you're wiping your hand in between, because if not, you're going to end up with a little bit of white everywhere. Oh, but that's good. We just blended that. So now I use a mascara. This is a brand new sample mascara. If you are using mascara on a client, of course, always use disposable wands. This is a brand new sample. This one is the Smashbox Full Exposure Mascara. And just look down. By putting mascara on top of the eyelashes allows them to blend a little bit more in with the natural lash. So that way it also sticks on longer and you never have to worry about it falling off. And open. There we go. Easy peasy pumpkin squeezy. It does take practice, and this is something that as a makeup artist I always encourage my clients and my models to go home and play with it. You'll never really know unless you go home and you practice. Step number 5, lip liner. Unless you're under 20, it's never out. Lipstick, lip gloss, no matter what you choose to do, whatever your poison is, a lip liner will keep it in place and also help to give that full look. It will help so that you don't end up bleeding all over the place and so that you don't end up getting it all over your face later on. Nobody wants that. Especially with maturing clients, you want to make sure that a good lip liner helps them, because as the lips age and you start getting age lines or wrinkles, whatever you want to call it, on the lips, it does tend to bleed a little bit easier onto the face, which I know is a lot of women's huge problem. After putting on a good lip liner, I tend to go from the outside inside. That's the natural way that the skin folds. If you try to pull it against, you're going to get those little lines, and nobody likes to see that. I'm then going to the MAC Spring 2013 lipstick palette. I'm just going to choose a really basic neutral on the more purples and pink sides. Now, it is totally okay to have your lipstick a different tone than your lip liner. A lot of people think that this is very 90s and that it's not very in anymore, but if you blend it properly and you put it on with a good brush, you never have to worry about that. It'll just help to add that extra little pop, especially if it's in the same color grouping. There we go. Your top 5 things to go out and add a little spunk, add a little perfection to what you want to look like. You could go to the grocery store like this and not look like you're trying too hard. Well, thank you, Chanel.
No problem.
Easy peasy steps for every woman that everyone should learn, especially if you are over 20. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. And my lovely model, thank you very much. I hope to hear from you soon, and I hope you learned a little bit as well. Have a great night.